I always just tell people you just gotta like soak it up.
Hi guys, I'm Jack Payne and this is the Friday Sponge, where I sit down with founders, operators, and leaders to talk about the part of the story nobody tells. The decisions, the risks, the lessons from long before success was obvious. Real stories, real business. Let's get into it. She ran operations inside major hospitals in Vietnam, and then she moved to Canada as an international student, and none of it counted. So she had to start over with hot sauce of all things. So there's a version of this story that sounds simple. A woman loves spicy food, gets heartburn, makes her own hot sauce, and then sells it at a farmer's market. Nice, right? Well, that's not Viet's story here. Viet, or as I like to call her, V, was an operating executive inside major hospitals in Vietnam. She moved to Canada as an international student, watched an entire career worth of credentials go out the door and get completely ignored. So she had to start from zero in a country where she knew almost no one. And what she built from that place completely alone, no co-founder, no family nearby, no safety net, is honestly one of the most hard-earned founder stories I've heard in a long time. Rude Mama Hot Sauce went viral. She's now in 150 stores across 5 provinces, and she's been on Dragon's Den, and she just landed a major deal with a company you and I might know called Costco. V, welcome to the Friday Sponge. Thank you so much for joining me.
You make me feel so awesome.
So before we get into the nitty gritty of that story, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Give me your 30-second elevator pitch. If you met a random stranger at a farmer's market, what is Rude Mama? Like what is the company and why'd you create it?
So welcome to Rude Mama Hot Sauce. We are authentic Vietnamese hot sauce that handcraft in Canada using Canadian ingredients. I started a company because I was so frustrating of all the generic and vinegar-based hot sauce that I consumed in the past. That doesn't give me flavor, but heartburn and acid reflux. And this is the tribute of me to all of the strong independent women that shaped my upbringings. And we name it Rubama because we want not only to give flavor to your food, give color to your skin, but we also want to empower you to live bold, live large, and unapologetic.
V. Oh yeah. All right. That was awesome. I should have known you had that in your back pocket being that you've been on TV. So I should have known, but you just blew me away. That was awesome. That was awesome. So before any of this, right, V, I want to kind of take people back to who V was before we came into Rude Hot Mama Hot Sauce. So before Canada, before the hot sauce, who is Viet? Take me back to Vietnam.
The long story. Before everything, I was just a little, not a little girl anymore, like I like to call it, but then I was just a girl born in like a rural area, not the city. Some people, when they first saw me, their first impression that I look like come from like family of money because how pale I was, and then when people first take a look at me, they have an impression that I'm somebody who was raised as a princess and then couldn't take hardship. And I was raised in a very conservative family where like it's strictly like I have to behave in a certain way. And then I remember like in my family at that time I was the youngest, and if I were to have a big dreams, I get called paranoia. And then if I dare to talk back, I just usually get a slap in the face. So it was a little bit extreme, and then in the same like in the way that like I used to be very timid and then silent. Like I don't talk much in the crowded room, and then a lot of the time like I didn't really get taught to how to express myself and then let people know around about my potential.
And with all of that in mind, well, first off, I'll just say I know the culture must be so different in that you were considered a princess because you had extremely fair skin. I have very fair skin, but everyone just makes fun of me here in the States because, as you know, for whatever reason, everyone in the United States needs to be bronze and have this beautiful Greek-like complexion. So I can,
Camouflage.
yeah, right? So already different from there. But I know you mentioned in our first conversation just how different it is to grow up in Vietnam. And as you mentioned, the expectations or the things that you can maybe aspire to do were a little bit different. Now, you didn't necessarily leave Vietnam without having a career and without doing something that I think is pretty impressive, which is you're running operations inside major hospitals, which I'd argue is a pretty serious career. Now, what made you decide that it was time to leave that behind and maybe go after something that wasn't looked at as something being normal in Vietnam and become a student in Canada and go on to do things that weren't traditional in the Vietnam culture?
I think like it all track back to my family because like usually at that time like I didn't like I live in a culture where I can do basically anything as long as I don't upset my parent. And the reason why I came to Canada is not really my choice, it's more of my mom high hope because like she have basically a dreams that like as long as her kid settle in a different country, like their life gonna be just magically overnight like change. And then I think a lot of that come from my sister. She's like a good student from day one, and then like it's a really big shadow for me to overcome and to get out of. And then she because she a really good student, so her whole life she just study, and then she got like a full scholarship in Europe, and then it create a lot of burden for like a youngest child to follow that step. And then I think it become kind of like ingrained in my mom mindset that like I need to follow her path because that is the only thing that she know of. And then it bring a lot of pride to the family because we Asian, and then either you there's only three ways to bring like a bride in the family. Is either you doctor, lawyers, or you excel in studying, or you an engineer. And then my dream at that time was none of those. And then a lot of the time like I got shamed a lot in terms of like because I have a different dream, I have a different path that I want to follow. Like I got shamed a lot. And it all come back into my mom wanted me to settle out, and then there like pretty much all of my role at that time was blocked because and then I don't see there like a future for me as like staying because like I cannot really excel in the field that I'm work with where I don't have much passion for. What I have passion for I cannot do. So get on the plane and then settle in a different culture is just the only way that I have at that time.
I myself am the oldest sibling, right? So I take it you're the younger sibling, right? So I've heard, because I always ask for feedback from my siblings about, hey, like, I want to make sure that you have your own light to shine in, right? Like, we don't need to duplicate experiences, and I want to make sure you're great in whatever you're doing. And I can see where there's a lot, there could possibly be some animosity, right? Because, like, all your sister's trying to do is set a good example, but at the same time, like, as you mentioned, like, those are big shoes to fill. And in a lot of ways, the shoes you wanted to wear weren't the ones that she wore, right? And to your point, the environment you were in, it sounded like it wouldn't really allow you to excel in an area that you would do really well in. So it was ultimately what led you in a lot of ways to kind of put behind your career and actually land in a spot where none of it transfers, right? So you were forced to almost start from the beginning. Yeah. Now, when you actually did that, you finally arrive in Canada. What did it actually feel like to start from the beginning and have to figure things out? Because while it is probably refreshing that you didn't necessarily have to do the same things that you were doing, you obviously are starting from scratch here. So how did that feel for you when you first landed?
I think like the one of the thing that I feel the first is just kind of like I get out of the water I get out of my water, and then there was excitement at that. There was like, oh, I'm starting to build a new life here. But then when reality, like when I get out of that, like rainbow phase, like pinky unicorn phase, and then thing kind of like dawn on me, because like now I face with the fact that not everything my mom say before was true. Like for her, it's as long as I settle in a different country, everything would be much better in Vietnam. Meanwhile, I'm here. I I the only thing that I can afford to eat at that time is frozen food or like canned food, because they are cheap, or like McDonald's. Like back then when I like we there are a lot of things when I was in Vietnam we took for granted and we don't know. For example, like every time that we go to the supermarket, everything's super fresh. And like if we get fish, it's like it's still swimming by the time we bought it. And then now here, like I can't afford like to buy the fish in the tank. And then almost everything that I can afford is just frozen meat, like the leftover. And it just like everything was much harder. But then at that time, I am aware, because I remember back then when I say goodbye to all of my friends, and then we're like, when are you gonna come back? And then I'm like, I don't know, maybe like I'm not gonna come back in like 5 years. And then like at that time, I already kind of like know that I'm just gonna keep working my way up, and then saving money, and then I'm not gonna see all of my friends for like the next 5 years. Because giving at that time, like I was in the express entry, so I study for 2 years, and then they're gonna give me 3 years to work and earn experience to be able to apply for the PR. So in my mind, kind of like working in my mind that like I'm gonna just keep working, and then by the end of that 3 year mark, I get the PR, and then that is where I finally allow myself to flying back and then see my friends. It never actually happened, but knowing that, it's just kind of like mentally prepare for the hardship. And then I think when you actually there, it's just the question of survival, and then you just kind of like bear it through.
No friends, no family, maybe a few connections, and just an idea, right? That's really what you were left with. And then obviously you made a mention. I think the first thing I asked you about what was so hard was food. So obviously you're someone who enjoys food. So maybe if you could, trying to find home, maybe through home cooked meals or recipes or just something, right? Just to have a taste of home. Was hot sauce something that you had at home? Was that kind of like your comfort food, and that's something that you immediately brought into your life in Canada, or was that a new thing when you moved to Canada?
It was established a while ago, because like before when I was in high school, like I was such an picky eater. If I see a flake of chili in my food, like my face melt, and then like I wouldn't even touch it. And then I think everything changed when I went to university, because like being a student, you broke, and then you don't have family, so like I eat everything. Like I even trained myself to be able to have dairy, because before, like I don't touch milk. And then I remember I should liquid for like a week after, by try forcing myself to be able to like drink milk. And uh and then like at that, then I get into hot sauce, and it's just kind of like a way of me to express myself, because at that time, like I don't have so much freedom to express myself. And then it just there, like you have so much heat in you, you have so much spiciness in you, you need to find a way to kind of like explode somewhere. And then that is my kind of like, what you call it, stressed, resolved. Like I eat spicy, and then I get like hot flash like crazy, and then like after that, it just like it all get out.
Yeah.
And there was one time, like there were time that I truly believe that I only need two things in my life, that would is lime and chili, and then it's just gonna make everything so much better. But as when I came to Canada, I realized I need more is money.
Hmm. So is the in a way it's like your love for spice and lime is and then the lack of money was what was like inspiring you and it kind of led you to this spot. And I think one of the things I loved when we first connected, when we were just talking about your love for hot food or hot sauce like me, we had that. It was so interesting. You're like, you love spicy food and then you develop heartburn from eating too much, which happened to me too. It happened to me too. Probably happens to a lot of people. The idea that I love hot sauce, I can't afford it here. When I do eat it too much, I get heartburn. And then you put all of it together and it inspires you to make your own hot sauce, right? So most people like me would probably just look to, I don't know, something like Pepsi or Tums to be my solution. But you decided, let's just recreate my own hot sauce. What inspired you to finally go ahead and do that? Were you a chef back in Vietnam? Did you like making and trying new sauces? Like what actually pushed you to go ahead and try and make your own hot?
Well, I learned to cook when I was 8. The reason because my both of my parents work at that times, and then like I used to be left at home by myself for like a lot, and then my mom like when I coming up age, and then she was like, now it's a good time to teach you to cook some simple things so you don't starve yourself, and then I get like more free time to focus on my work, that kind of things. And like I never actually think too much of that, but like I think moving the fact that I moved out of my culture, and then the fact that they're like nice, that I crave so much of different things that I couldn't find here. And I was fortunate I was in Toronto, where the culture is more it like a cauldron of culture, like a melting pot of culture in here. So I have a lot of option, but still the majority of the food available is either pho or bánh mì. And then there's something that I craving like crazy. For example, like the hot sauce that I love from home, I couldn't find it here. And then there's some night it hit you in the middle of the night, all the store closed, and you couldn't find anything to cure it. And I think something burning in the back of my head, like I want something more tangible that people can pour it in anything that they eat, and they still can taste the taste of Vietnam, the taste of my home. And then that is where the chili come to life. And then also as a founder, there are a certain quality that required of you is that you have to have like really big heart because you care a lot. And then all of the time it's just like you working toward finding solution, finding something to solve what you see as a problem that not a lot of people perceive that, but then your version of solution would make the world much better.
Mhm.
And then I think a lot of us, we find ourselves valuable in that way of thinking, like I contribute something good into the community, and then maybe it's just like a jar of hot sauce, maybe it's something more.
And I think the story that we're going to unpack here in a second really kind of highlights your passion and desire to give back to the greater community. So let's get into the long story, right? So you started in July 2023, correct? July
Yes.
2023?
Yeah.
Year one, right? You do $50,000. You go from 0 to 10 to 15 stores, producing everything yourself. What did that actually look like on the day to day? Because I think people that hear about this don't really have the full picture of what it means to start from 0 to then get to 10 to 15 stores in year one. So, what did that look like in the early days?
I think it's a lot of hustle, and now looking back, I don't even like I've been doing this for long enough, but I still don't have a good answer to that. Maybe because I'm crazy. Uh, and it's a lot because the first 2 years I take it as survival. Any mom who have newborn baby would be able to relate with me because sometimes when something's so valuable to you, all you want is just to see your baby to grow to be healthy. And then I did a lot of the thing that normally I wouldn't do. Like before, I didn't even think to go to farmer market, set up a tent, because at that time I didn't buy my car until September. So the first 3 months, 2 months, it was just like TTC and then commute. Uber used to cancel my trip because they pull it up and then I see a bunch of stuff on the sidewalk and they're like, nope. And like I didn't think about that. And there were times I need to pivot because I have 3 stores at the beginning, and then August rolled by, September rolled by, I couldn't get more store, and then I was like freaking out. And I asked a lot of people, like those that started business before me, like what should I do at that time? And the answer I get is go to market, go to farmer market, and I was really opposed with that option before because I don't have the tool or infrastructure to deploy those. And there were times I remember like the first market, my expectation was so huge. And then I go there and I literally beg people to buy the hot sauce. And then they're like, okay, it's not what I'm planning for, it's not what I'm thinking. And then I remember that feeling when I'm standing there, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I getting myself into this? But like, it's just one of the thing. And then a week after, I got the first online order from somebody in Colorado. And then they were like, I can't stop thinking about your hot sauce. I have to order. And then they were like, holy shit, this is real. And it just like there are a lot of moments where one bad market, one bad demo, and I'm like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do from here? And then the day after, I hear people be like, "Oh my god, I love your hot sauce. I put your hot sauce on everything." And then I kind of like retract back, and I'm like, maybe I'm doing something like really really good here. So just keep pushing out a little.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stories that I hear about from founders, which is uncertainty, right? It's just uncertainty. Like day in, day out, you're going to the kitchen, you're making the product, you're going to the farmer market when it pops up, and that's every single day. And one thing that I think a lot of founders miss is what they miss is that they don't have a community. Sleep will sleep. They don't get sleep, they miss money, but also like a community to be in the trenches with. Now, for you, I know early on you didn't have that community, but you shared with me when we were first spoke that you were able to build up a little bit of that community in the commercial kitchens, right? The other CPG founders, the other individuals like Akshay who were building whipped butter. What did that community mean to you in those early days when you were doing, compared to when you were doing this all by yourself?
Think if I were to put one word, that community mean everything. They are the fuel, the cheerleaders. They are also kind of like, I don't want to to be religious, but they kind of like the voice from above that kind of like lead me to the right direction. Because I think that you hear a lot of the time when you at certain stage, there a conclusion that you draw about your business is the best time is now. Like you don't need to wait for it to be perfect because it's just like a terms in your head. Like you're perfect for people might not be. And then your imperfect for people might be perfect. And then when we start a business is more about having a business from the idea to the execution. Like when you start, basically you went through labors and then your baby already out. And in that terms, like there's only one choice for you to learn how to love that baby. Because I'm kind of have the weird thinking like when you give birth to a baby, like the first time you see your baby, they look like a raisin, and and then it's like if you don't love it, who else gonna be? And then with that, the community is kind of like it's the nurse, it's those who say, oh, it's just a baby, it's amazing, it's a cute baby. And then from that you learn how to love your baby more. And then I think that is the core of the journey that we are on.
It's having other people rooting for you, right? That having other people in your corner, even when you are in the dump, they've been in the dump before as well. And hopefully when that crying baby is wailing, maybe you have somebody else that can step in and give you that little pat on the back or the right words to kind of pull you out and make sure things keep going,
Or
right?
set the fire to that dumpster for you, warm you up.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So speaking of dumpster fires, maybe in another sense, there's one story we have to touch on. Tell me about the farmer's market where you could barely walk.
Oh my God. That was the last time that I produced a hot sauce myself because I used to make the hot sauce myself. And so my week was crazy. It's 7 day, and then I have usually 2 days because the commercial kitchen that I ran there's only two kettle, so I only can do two hot sauce at once, and I have four flavor, and I need to really 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 utilize my times an hour. Like when I book the kitchen hour, like I need to keep working nonstop. Like I don't stop for food. I usually trying to hold and not having a bathroom break because that gonna affect the times, and I'm just kind of like working through. There were time you don't know like how hard you work until your body go break, and that was the day when I wake up and my feet tendon like got shortened overnight. I don't know what triggered it, and I couldn't walk straight. Like one leg was like so painful, and I was hopping around the kitchen, and because I walking like a limp and put so much weight in the good food, it turned out to be a bad one after. And then luckily, like I have my friend at that time, like he came in and he helped me, but he was 6 feet, so he had like a crutch, and then
So
it
he had you
became
up on like one, you had to put like your arm up, but it was just like,
yeah. Yeah, and then he gave me his crutch, and it was too tall for me. And I remember, I'm like, I don't need this. And and then at that time, like, cause I do hot sauce and it jar, right? So I need to steam, like, sanitize my jar. So we do hot fill, and one of the last step, it put everything into a steamer, and then steam it. So it first is sanitize the whole process, and also it suck the lid inside to create like a vacuum seal. And then I remember I lean on one foot and then I hold the whole tray full of hot sauce like fully. And then like my hand was like shaking. Like I can see like if I couldn't hold that, like the whole thing gonna go into my face. And I'm like, is it how I'm gonna die? But
die by hot sauce, death by hot sauce. Oh
luckily
no.
nothing happened. And then yeah, it was a total mess. And then after that, I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm trying my best way to find like a co-packer and then trying to have them make the hot sauce. Yeah.
And the craziest piece of that, right, as you mentioned from the beginning, is look, when you're starting a business, every dollar needs to be put to work in the most effective manner. You can't waste anything. So to your point, some people would look at that and be like, oh, you felt terrible, like just take the day off. And this goes back to something we talked about in our last conversation too, which is like, no, you really can't. Like when you're your own boss, like,
You are
yeah,
your own slave too.
you're your own slave too. Yeah, you said exactly. So it's crazy because for a lot of people, they think it's just this glorious world when you're your own boss. But like you said, you're your own slave too. If you don't show up, then the product's not going to get made. Money was spent or money was used to get that commercial kitchen. If you don't show up, that's just money you might as well throw into a dumpster, right? So I guess this was like one of those first experiences then where you probably were like, wow, I might be my own boss, but I am also my own slave at the same.
Yeah. And then it all go back to like every dollar had to be count, every minute had to be count. And then as your business grow, there's other thing that require your attention more. For me at that time, like it wasn't sustainable for me to be in the kitchen for 2 days and then I don't have the stop in between. And then the next day I was just kind of like exhausted. And then on top of that, like after each production batch, I still have to spend 3-4 hour hand labeling each and every jar until like midnight.
Yeah, it's definitely not a job for the weak-hearted, right? Like being a founder requires a lot of grit. I mean, an unbelievable amount of grit. And for some people, that level of grit ultimately puts them in a spot where they're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna go back to doing something. I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna go back to what I was doing. For you, however, momentum kind of shifted, right? And the product didn't just start to do well. The product went viral, right? Year one, as we already talked about, $50,000. Year two, 110,000. Year three, 155. And now you're on track towards almost $290,000 this year, and that's before Costco even ships. So when you look at trajectory like that, just within 3 years, what do you feel?
I think like a lot of the time, how I feel got reflected back from the other people mouth. Cause like when I share with them, they were like, "You must be so proud of yourself." I'm like, maybe I am. And cause like when you in when you're in the grid, you don't feel it. And then like at the same time, like I run the business myself. I run it from scratch, so I don't really have a moment to kind of like sit down reflect because it's always a bigger problem. It's always a bigger hurdle, a bigger solution that I need to go after. And then there's like I'm dancing around in a dumpster fire. Like if I put out the fire in here, is the other place, like the other end, gonna just like flare up. So like basically, I don't think anybody would ask like a raccoon how it feel sitting in the dumpster. And it's just basically what I'm in right now.
Yeah, you kind of you get your win. You might feel elated. You might be in the rainbow, like you said earlier. You dance around all happy, but then it's pretty quick in that you have to quickly wake up to reality and get back into the fight, right? Because you don't just hit one point and it's all over and you now have succeeded. Like there's always going to be other things that come up down the road.
Yeah. And then also I need to train myself to think that emotion doesn't fill my belly. And then I can feel all sort of things, but like there I need to keep the momentum going. For example,
Hmm.
like someday when I did the demo and then like it wasn't good, like people were just like no 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 no, and I can't just like holy shit, I just wanna sell the business and then cry in the corner. Like I need to find the and then it apply for all every founder as well. Like we need to find a way to kind of like pick ourselves up and then reforms and then like trying to think like okay, what is actually wrong in here? Am I in the bad place or am I in the bad times or am is it because of my face?
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Has that changed at all, or has that improved at all? Do you think for yourself, like the image factor? Because as you brought it up a few times, just like the way you look, the way you come across, the fact that you're someone who is an immigrant to the country. Do you feel like any of these big moments, whether it be the Costco story or the Dragon's Den, which we'll get to in a little bit, has that not made you a little bit more confident in kind of what you bring to the table and who you are?
It does make me confident, feel really, really confident, and then it does really reaffirmed of my ability. And then in the way that like me 5 years, even 3 years ago, I didn't even think that I'm gonna be in the room with those people that I very fortunate to be in with. And then at the same time, I think for a founder, like we in the high road that we need to keep our mindsets always positive because when we go down to the rabbit hole of being negative. Like it just brings us down, and then it's like an uphill battle to be able to climb out of, and then being able to function. So like there are a lot of the things that I did not non-existent in my mind. For example, like I don't realize that I'm yellow or I'm immigrant, and then a lot of the day that what I do is I try not to think about that, because when I come back to be like, does I get the no because of my color, because of my face? It's a very hard way to kind of like pick myself up again, and then be able to present to other people. Yeah, like it does occur sometimes, but then I think of everything, it's just like a very survival instinct of me to not really think about that. For example, if I go to a farmer market, I set up a tent there, and then I rode everything up the hill by myself. Like I can't really let myself think like other people that have family, that have kids, that have friends come help them up. I don't normally compare myself with them, because that's gonna put me in like, oh, I don't have family here, and then and then all the emotion gonna comes, and then like it never a good way to fill my belly, because I still need to keep going on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never, maybe one day, but at least right now, I'll never be able to understand the struggle of being an immigrant, learn, not speaking your native tongue and not having your family here. But as you mentioned, and I really love the saying you said, it's like, it's not going to fill my tummy. Like it maybe is in our mind, and it is definitely something you should think about, but not necessarily let it run your life. Right. And I think anybody can do that. Everybody has the little demon in their head that's going to try and have them take their focus away from what's the most important, what's actually going to fill your tummy. So it's kind of identifying it, acknowledging it, and then storing it away, right? Is always what I've been told. Yeah, we'll talk to you later. That's fine, but that's not going to help me right now. Now, shifting to maybe probably what was one of the most exciting moments for you, and maybe what really brought you some confidence was the Dragon's Den, right? So, for those that don't know, Dragon's Den is basically Canada's version of Shark Tank. The episode that we're speaking of here aired in November of 2025. V, I want to hear everything. How did you get on the show? What was it like walking in? And what happened when you got in that room full of dragons?
It still it was and still a life changing moment for me. Um, like before, when I do demo like on the side street, and then I talk to people very passionate about my hot sauce business. Like a lot of the time, I get people say like, "Oh, you need to go to Dragon Den," and before I took it as like a flatters things, but I think it changed because I was at a certain point where I want the world to know about Rumama. I want the world to know about what I'm building, and I'm confident that I'm at the stage where I can proudly present to people, and then I have enough experience running it for 2 years, that I like it, just all over like the excitement of me, like showing with people, showing with people the work I've done, showing the existence of Root Mama, and being on national TV to tell that story. And so that is why I decided to sign up for the audition. And then when I came to the audition, Toronto was the first stop that they stop at. Uh, I came in a little bit late. Like people usually line up for like 6, 7 in the morning. I came in around 10, and then there was already 5 different hot sauce company that I know of there. And I didn't really think too much about that. Like I know I have a good story, and then I just kind of like prepping myself, get to know people around in the room. And I do have a demo that I booked in Kitchener at that time, which is like 2 hour away, driving from Toronto, and then it was around April, so like there was a snowstorm coming, and then the whole time I was just kind of like bugging the staff over there, like, hey, is it me? Can I go? Can I go on next? And when I go, like I just deliver, I tell them the story. I talk about my brand. I got so emotional. I almost cry a little, and I try to keep it really short because I know I have the like quite a drive to drive through. As soon as I done, like I just ran out of the studio and do my demo, and I didn't think too much about that. About a month later, there's an email from Dragon Den. They want to ask me a few more questions. I'm like, okay. So I jump on a call with them, and then they ask me some question. I answer, and then the producer was like, "So the filming day gonna be this, and this," and I'm like, "Am I? Excuse me, am I in?" And so like, "Yeah." Oh my god! After that, I lost my shit. Like I like she's continue with her thing, like there's nothing makes sense in my head anymore, and then I can see like I'm going banana in the screen. And um and then after that, like I just call everybody that I know of, telling them that I'm getting on Dragon Den, and then like I need to get prepared.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing.
And then it was like one of the few days that I let myself take a mental break because like I couldn't focus on anything else after.
So fast forward to the day. What was going through your head in the 10 seconds before you walked out in front of the dragons?
I think it just like I prepared. I have a mentor at that time who was really good. Like she went into every breath of the pitch. So I have it in my head. And I think like it's just a very Asian thing to do. Like when you go there, it's just like another exam that you're about to take. And then but then I think like in my mind we're just kind of like looking for the sign and the clue, because I know that if I don't, like I can go and then I can talk anything with the dragon, but like it wouldn't make any meaningful impact if I don't get air. So all the time I was thinking about how do I make it entertain enough? How do I make it so like I can get in the final air? So my solution was I went on Temu. I bought a gun that shot money, and then I would call it that my money shot. And then I remember as soon as I got that gun delivered, like I have kind of like a vision in my head that dragon gonna fight for me, and then I will try to talk in a way that they're gonna fight for me. And then when the camera focus on two dragon like fighting back and forth for me, like I will in the back like shoot money like crazy. Nobody fight for me though.
So what did you do? How did you use the gun? Did you just break it out anyways?
Like nobody fight for me, and they were like holy shit. And then because like when you look at the cut, like you can see like I'm trying to get them fight for me, and then like it and everyone tap out until Manchit she gave me a deal. And then at that moment, like I know I should go back and forth and like kind of like negotiate with her, and then like but like all the work drawn out of my head, and then I was like I just want to shoot my gun. That is the only thing that I'm thinking about. I just want to shoot my gun.
And did you? Did you do it?
Yeah.
You did.
I,
I
I
gotta watch this
remember like I was
video.
shy, and then I asked her like, "Do you want to take a money shot with me?" And she was like, she didn't know what that is. I'm like, what?" And then I just grabbed my gun and then I shoot.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
And like I run to her, like I run to my mama.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. And then when it aired, right? Like what was that moment like? And did you see any traction from that? Like did you see an uptick?
It was crazy. It was crazy. Like I think for us the picture to go on Dragon Den, you don't know if you get aired until a month before. And then there's like a lot of sign that the broadcaster like CBC gave to us, like they invite us to the Dragon Den market, which is like a very telling sign, but like nobody know where or when you're gonna be on air, and then all the time it's just like that nerve wracking, that anxiety, like am I gonna get air? Like how am I gonna get air? And then when I got the email confirmed that I will be air on November 20, I remember I was doing demo at Sobe in the West. Um, and then like as soon as I see the email coming through my phone, like I lose my shit, and then I come to the store owner and like, oh, I need to show you this. I don't think I can do demo anymore. Can I wrap? And they're like, okay.
My God. Like, oh, that's amazing. I can't wait to pull that video up. I'm gonna definitely play that for our audience, 100%.
And like after it air, like after I know that it's gonna air, like I think the next thing is just like how do I get prepared for that? Because you don't know until it confirmed, and then like when it confirmed, it just I get like a reality, like I get a cold water flash in my face. I'm like, holy shit, I don't think that I'm ready for this yet. And like imagine like the whole 2 months I was just kind of like begging them, chasing them, like how am I gonna get air? When am I gonna get air? And then when they confirm with me, I'm like, huh. I didn't think that I think that far. Like
Like, is it? Yeah, yeah. You're just so caught up on the money gun. You're like, I don't even know what, like, I don't care what happens next. I just care about the money gun right now. Oh man.
and then um and then I have a meeting with the with Manjit, like Dragon, and then she kind of like pointing out like what I need to prioritize, what I need to focus on, like leading up to, because like at that time I have about a month to plan it out. And like mind you, like when I got the confirmation, like I didn't even think about I'm gonna host like a dragon watching party. Like I didn't that doesn't even like a
Didn't even
vocabulary in
dawn on
my
you. Yeah.
yeah. And and then I just talked to a friend that I know, and he have a coffee, and then they were like, yeah, I do, I throw you a party. And it was the best time of my life, because like you can see, like I can see how so many people come for me, and then they come for me and then my root mama. And that is where I truly feel about the community.
Community and for your community in the kitchens to see one of their own
Yeah.
on the big TV. Like, there's no better thing to have is one of your own that actually makes it and then gives you the confidence or maybe just the inspiration that, hey, like I can do this too. I just gotta be like V and get that money gun. Get that money gun.
You can
So
do this. What are you talking about? You're building a community now.
yeah, 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 you're right. You're right. Well, I got to get a money gun for this podcast. Maybe that's the next thing. But
I can ship you one.
all right, please. Well, so I want to pivot just because I know it's super important to you. Just the story and the meaning behind what it means to be an immigrant woman founder. And I want to go to here, like I said, because I know it's important. When people see you, what I think they see now is an immigrant founder, a woman that built something from nothing in a country that she did not grow up in. I call that resilience. And I don't know for you, you know, it's always in the back of your head that maybe it's a limiting factor. And I know that this idea of being an immigrant woman kind of it lands with you in a complicated way. Can you maybe tell people or share with people what you wish they understood about immigrant founders that a lot of people miss, and why you're so passionate about not being looked at or overlooked as just another immigrant founder, but just as a founder?
Thing like after the Dragon Den, like I do, like my when my story get aired out, a lot of people come to me and then praise me for being resilient. Um, and then it is when and where I'm kind of like take a really serious look into reflecting myself, and like it all the great praise and all, but then at the same time, like If the system were built in a more sustainable way, maybe we don't need to use that vocabulary. And then I
Maybe you
don't
don't
want,
need resilience,
yeah,
right? Maybe you don't. Maybe it doesn't require you to go above and beyond because the system in place, from what I'm gathering, should be already supporting that. Like it shouldn't matter whether you're an immigrant from Vietnam or you were born and raised in Canada. If the system just supported anybody that wanted to be a founder, no matter what you look like, where you're from, then it wouldn't require as much resilience. Is that kind of what you're
yeah,
getting at?
yeah. And then like usually that work is often occurs with like woman founder, immigrant founder, just kind of like a set of descriptive word to use for our category type kind of things. And then I find that it's a little bit unfair. And then when it keep repeating and repeating and repeating where nothing changed, it just doesn't sit right.
Yeah, it's the idea that if you're put into a box and you're categorized as one type of thing, that you maybe don't have necessarily access to all of the different things that maybe a male founder from Canada maybe had access to, right? Is that right? Is okay. I understand. I understand. Well, look, even if that's the case, I hope your example here is one that does change that for the future, as obviously you've done some amazing things. Coming up next, you have Costco shipping this fall, right? You've already mentioned to me you're eyeing the US market, which I think you can't get here soon enough because I need that in my refrigerator. And you're trying to crack the tariff situation. So there's a lot that's on your plate. But when we think about Vian, and what your next chapter looks like, what does that next chapter look like for Rude Mama?
I think the next chapter of us, because we so far after 3 years, we've been building a really solid foundation of community, and by doing that, like we do listen to all of the feedback that everybody give us, either through market, either through demo, either through the Shopify spike after Dragon Den. And then we keep our promise as we now change all of our product into extra virgin olive oil. So like we no longer using seed oil, and then that is the promise of the premium quality that we delivered. And I think the next chapter of us is to utilize and then build the pillars on the foundation that we've been building so far and put forward the community, because right now we're in a phase where we can start thinking about hiring, can start thinking about a bigger a better word that we will build and then I want to build Rumama to be a cultural symbol, very similar to Detroit pizza, where it is built by immigrants utilize everything that they have at that time, working in a car manufacturers. That the way like the pizza shaped differently, and then I want to one day people come to Toronto and then be like, you have to try it. Wait, if you come to Toronto, you have to try Rumama.
Love it. And what is something that you need right now that you don't have yet? I think you mentioned something to me last time we were on the phone, but what's one resource or connection for anybody that's listening that you really could use right now?
I would say spread the word of Root Mama, spread the word of the beautiful picture, beautiful future that we trying to build, because I can sing about my business all day, all the time, but then if it's just my voice, it wouldn't it was just one story. And then if everybody repeat that, if everybody were able to share and then keep singing it, it become a folklore. And then that way it a, a culture, a way of life that we trying to build.
And one little shameless plug for anybody listening, I need you to get her a warehouse in the New York City metro area so that we can ship product here and I can have it delivered at my doorstep. So that's my little shameless plug, right? Yeah, you can get with me on that, V. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. All I need is the intro.
So to kind of close things up here, when you think about the international student who first landed in Canada several years ago and was told that her career didn't count here, right? Everything you had done in Vietnam did not count. If she could see you today, Rude Mama, in Costco, what do you think V would think? What would she think?
Think if I were to go back on like the first day when I land in Canada, she would think, holy shit. Turns out like this actually have a purpose to it. And then I think at that time, like it wouldn't dawn on her that because I remember, like when I land here, I look at like amid all the exciting, there was the moment of my past self thinking, like I'm being exiled, I'm being sent to a a strange country, start everything over. But now, like from what I build, like I actually building an empire. I can be my own landlord someday.
You'd
Lord and
be,
lady.
you could be more than that. You could be more than that. Well, V, this has been amazing. Honestly, thank you so much. You are proof that the most dangerous thing in any room is someone who has nothing to lose and something to prove. I think that rude mama hot sauce is something that I need in my fridge now. So for anyone that's listening that's in Toronto, go find it, go buy it. For anybody that's coming from Canada back to the States, please bring some back to me. And when that heat hits, just remember the whole story behind the bottle. One last question for you, V. Where can people learn more about you, your story? Where do you post? Where can they find Rude Mama? Like where do they got to go to find you?
If you on TikTok and Instagram, you can find our account at Root Mama Hot Sauce altogether. Um, and then other than that, if you want to look about the store location by trying the hot sauce, go to rootmama.ca.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, V. Is there anything else that you want to add, or is that all for the Friday Sponge?
I would love to add that you are an amazing host, and I have so much pleasure and then so much fun working with you.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you soaked it up. Thank you.